audio. All right, perfect. I'm back. Thank you guys. So, apologize for that. I've never had my Mac completely go to sleep and crash on me, but it did. I'm back. You guys should be able to see the slides. I'm going to go ahead and load them in the chat. I know we are 8 minutes behind schedule. We got a lot I want to cover, so we're going to jump right in. I won't do as much welcoming and housekeeping as I normally do, guys, because I want you guys to stop and assess your business. That's the goal tonight. The market is hot across the country, guys. There are agents having great 2020s already, and we're only a couple of months in. There are new agents getting rolling at EXP really quickly, guys. I've seen so much success so far this year that I just want to make sure everybody's in a good position and ready to go. My name's Curtis Dixon. Just a quick welcome. I'll get to know you guys a little bit more as we go tonight and through the Q&A portion. But for anybody who's checking this out for the first time or just getting to Real Estate 101, I do want to let you guys know that we have a format for this class that runs every Sunday. So this class, Real Estate 101, runs every Sunday at 8 o'clock Central Time, but it's not the same class. We don't cover just one topic or one concept or one set of things. We actually cover 4 big topics every single month with a new class every single week. So the first Sunday of every month, guys, we do a mindset-related topic. We're going to talk beliefs. We're going to talk skill sets. We're going to talk paradigms. The second Sunday of every month, we do a marketing-related topic. We're going to talk prospecting, lead generation, lead conversion. We're going to talk branding. The third Sunday of every month, hopefully some of you guys were here last Sunday, we had a special guest, talked about sales. In that case, we talked about relationships and the importance of them. We talked about service. And then the fourth Sunday of every month, we're going to talk operations. And so tonight is a fourth Sunday. So we're going to be talking about the opportunity for you in your business to grow, to leverage tools, to leverage systems, and just making sure your operations are right where you want them to be. And if they're not, helping you get organized and get a game plan together for what you need to be working on to improve the operations of your real estate business. So we're going to do a little bit of housekeeping just to make sure everybody's comfortable. We're going to get the key takeaways out so you guys know what we're covering tonight. We will wrap this thing up on time. I'll go pretty quickly here for the next 40, 45 minutes or so. We're going to be doing what I call an opportunity assessment. Opportunity assessment. So that's why I asked you guys to grab a pen and paper. If you're on the phone, don't worry. I'll speak pretty clearly, pretty slowly. You can still kind of do a mental assessment, and then you can be thinking about the tools and systems. If you're on the phone and you're not driving, though, you might be able to flip over to your notepad, at the end of the call and kind of take some of your notes so that way you don't lose track of what you decided while you were listening tonight. And then we'll spend a little bit of time at the end, guys, doing a quick recap and then a wrap up. So if you guys got here and you're not quite sure what's going on at EXP or Real Estate 101, your special guest or your new agent, I'll stick around for a few minutes after tonight's class to answer some questions, to point you in the right direction, try and set you guys up for a good week at EXP. So housekeeping items, please keep your microphone on mute, guys. Bottom left-hand corner of the screen, you should have a red microphone. If you're on the phone, your microphone is muted automatically. Just don't push anything. As we go tonight, I'm going to be asking you guys some questions, and I asked you to get a pen and paper because I want you to take some notes for yourself. But if you don't mind sharing any of the stuff that we're talking about, please use the chat box, guys, for comments. And also, if you have any questions and you want to go into more detail, please use the chat box for questions. I am going to be asking all my agents in here tonight, if you have an answer to one of the questions we're covering that you think might benefit another agent in the room, please share your ideas in the chat box, in your comments. And then last but not least, if you guys want to zoom in on the screen to follow along on the screen, go up to the black box at the top of EXP World. It says Screen Zoom. Hover over Screen Zoom and click the second magnifying glass from the left. That'll zoom in on the web screen. If you guys want to follow along with the actual slides on your computer, I've loaded a PDF version of the slides into the chat box. You guys can click on that link and you'll actually be able to grab the PDF slides there on your screen. So I do want to welcome our new agents, our experienced agents, and any special guests, guys. We're glad to have you here. Just to get to know who's in the room real quick, this is the last part of the intro. I want to do a little exercise that's going to help me and everybody else in here get to know you a little bit, and then we're going to move on forward and get into the meat and potatoes of tonight's opportunity assessment class. So real quick, I want you guys to answer the following 3 questions for me by typing the answer in the chat. If you're on the phone, don't worry, you can't type the answers. So just everybody here live, answer these 3 questions real quick. First question is, how much experience do you have in real estate? followed by a comma. Don't hit enter. Second question is, how long have you been with eXp Realty? Followed by a comma. And then this one's a unique question, so pay attention. This question is, how many Real Estate 101s on Sunday nights do you think you've attended this year? So since the start of 2020, how many Real Estate 101s have you been to? All right, so we've got agents in here, brand new, just getting going, fourth day at eXp, welcome to the family. We've got agents that have 16 months, 13 years. Agents been here at the brokerage for a couple of years. Agents that are just getting going with eXp. Awesome, we appreciate you guys. Very cool. Vanessa, good to have you here. Charlotte, good to have you here. Very cool. All right, so we've got a wide variety of audience. The reason I asked how many of these Real Estate 101 classes you've been to is because we're on pretty much week 9 of the year approximately. And so I've had a kind of a rhythm to these classes where I've had some specific types of content and topics kind of coming out for the first 9 weeks. And for anybody who's been through, a bunch of these, you've probably seen kind of a pattern, right? And, at the beginning, we started with talking about balance, and then we started talking about lead generation and conversion, and then we started talking about, follow-up and customer service and sales and relationships. So anybody who's been coming to these Real Estate 101s all year has probably picked up some traction week over week. And I encourage you guys to start thinking about this class as a way to pick up traction in your business every quarter. So when the second quarter hits at the beginning of April, I'm going to reset the classes that run. So we're going to run similar classes to what we ran the first week of the year, and then the second week, and then the third week. And so I'm glad to hear that, Rachel. Rachel said it's a great way to focus for the week. So I want to let you guys know that you can build this class into your calendar as sort of a quarterly growth series, where if you come the first week, you're going to do some mindset work and get some balance in your business. And when you get here to week 8 or 9, we're going to do this little check-in. And then when you get to, week 11 or 12, we're going to be talking about setting you up for the next quarter. So let's kick off this class, guys. I want to tell you a little bit about what I want you to take away from tonight. And the reason I asked you to bust out a pen and paper is because I've got 3 big takeaways that I'm going to be focused on for tonight. Number 1, I want to help increase your awareness about the 4 big pillars of growth in your business. So I want you guys to just kind of think about these concepts, and I want to use the same language. I want to kind of create some common vision here for growth in their business. The next thing I want you guys to do tonight is I want, through the conversation, through the stories, through the questions, I want you guys to start creating your list of the tools or systems that you need to go to work on after becoming more aware tonight. And then last but not least, I want you guys to actually prioritize and plan out the activities that you're going to start doing beginning this week, beginning next month, to start growing your business. Real quick, just to address Ivan's question, I want to make sure everybody knows how to do this. So Ivan, follow along with me, and anybody else who can't see the slides yet, let's do this quick exercise. Take your mouse and go up to the top of the eXp World window to the black box that says Screen Zoom. You should see some magnifying glasses drop down. Click on the second one from the left. It's going to say Main Web Screen. Once you're zoomed in on the main web screen, in the top right-hand corner, there's what I call the refresh wheel. It's 2 arrows that form the shape of a circle. Click on that refresh wheel, please, and it'll refresh your screen, and you'll be able to see the slides. So anybody who can't see the slides, there are slides up on the screen right now. Get to that refresh wheel in the top right-hand corner of the center web screen, and you guys can refresh and be able to follow along. The other thing I'll do for you real quick is I will load the PDF version of the slides in the chat box. So you guys can actually click on that link and you'll get the PDF version of the slides. So here's what we're going to talk about tonight. First exercise is we're actually going to do an assessment. I'm literally going to put something up on the screen and I'm going to ask you to look at these pillars of growth, give yourself a rating, and start to identify some of the areas of struggle or opportunity where you want to improve. So we're actually going to become more aware through this assessment. And this assessment is what I use when I talk to agents personally to help them understand where they're at in their business and what they need to go to work on to grow. Then we're going to talk about tools. And this is where I really would like agent and audience participation. I'd like you guys to share some of the tools when we talk about these topics of organization, productivity, and learning. And then last but not least, we're going to cover the big systems that regardless of your experience level, at some point you're going to need in your business. We're going to talk through your mindset systems, your marketing systems, and your sales systems. And you're going to leave here tonight with at least a list or a plan of what specific area you need to go to work on in your business. So let's start with the assessment. And I will give you guys a copy of this assessment afterwards. But for now, just in the interest of time, I do want you guys to go through this exercise yourself on your paper. And if anybody doesn't feel like writing on a piece of paper, but wants to actually use the chat box to just get some numbers out and down, I appreciate the transparency and would welcome you guys sharing in the chat. I do want to spend about 5 minutes here because I want to give everybody ample time to complete this exercise. So if you have a pen and paper, I want you guys to look up on the screen or look at the PDF, and I'm asking you to rate yourself in these 4 big areas of growth, these pillars of growth. Kathleen, you'll have to refresh the screen if that's not working. Then you're probably just going to have to click on the PDF version in the chat and follow along. So it should be just a couple of chats above you, and then I'm going to load it again in the chat. So I want everybody to go through this exercise. Imagine we were in a classroom, live setting, face-to-face, and I gave you a little handout. In this case, it's just your pen and paper. And I asked you to look at these 4 pillars of growth. The areas of mindset, marketing, sales, and operations. And if you're newer to the business or just want some clarification on these areas, your mindset is just how you think and what you're thinking about relative to achieving your goals, knowing what to do, having enough clients, right? Whatever you're thinking about is your mindset. Your marketing is typically your brand, your lead generation activities, and your lead conversion activities. Your sales is usually setting appointments, running appointments, and servicing clients. And then your operations is running your business. Do you have a database? Do you have tools? Do you track your expenses? Do you keep up with your game plan? Do you have a business plan, right? Those are the areas. So here's what I want you guys to do. Take 5 minutes and start it now. I want you to rate yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 in these areas. And then I want you to write down your top 2 challenges or struggles or opportunities for improvement in these areas. And then once you guys have done this exercise, I want you to go through it. I'm going to ask everybody in here not to give me their ratings if you don't want to, but give me the area where you ended up rating yourself the lowest with room for more improvement. So I want you guys to go ahead and go through this, and I think I know the answer. I'm willing to guess, but I want everybody to go through this exercise. Give me a yes in the chat once you've actually written all the answers onto a paper. Thanks, Rob. Thanks, Shauna. Some people are sharing in the chat too, so if you want to do it in the chat, perfect. If you're doing it on a piece of paper, perfect. If you're doing it on a paper, I encourage you to write a date down about when you assess yourself in this way so that you can do another assessment in the future. And if you'll just come back to the Real Estate 101 classes for the whole second quarter, by the 8th week or 9th week of the quarter, we'll do another assessment. And it would be super cool to see how you've improved. I've done this with a lot of agents over a lot of years. And the coolest thing, guys, is seeing growth or improvement in these areas. And if you haven't done this kind of assessment before, I'll tell you why it's so important. Because, man, life can get hectic and chaotic. And, for anybody who has, we all have different things going on in our life, right? But for anybody who has kids, a lot of times your time is measured in like school years. You think about time based on your kids being in school. And so my wife and I were talking earlier today, and we were just talking about last year, but we were thinking in school year, right? This time last year, right before spring break, what was going on in our lives and where we were at. And things are so different just a year later, guys, than they were a year ago. And hopefully for everybody in this room, you can say that. You can look back to a time where things were much different than they are now, and you're grateful for where they're at now. Well, in your business, it's important to reflect and assess where you're at so that you can identify growth and you can start to feel progress. You know, there's a lot of agents, I'm looking at the chat now, there's a lot of agents who struggle in operations. There are a lot of agents who struggle in mindset. Marketing and sales, you know, go hand in hand with those other two, typically. So, you know, don't be concerned with your scores, just rate yourself. All right, go ahead and give me a yes in the chat if you're done, guys. We've taken a few minutes. I'll give everybody who doesn't give me a yes a couple more minutes. I do want you to do this exercise. I want you to write out your biggest challenges. And if anybody has a major challenge in their business or an area they're struggling in, I want you to put that in the comments to see if we can talk about it. Or when we get to a section where you feel like your struggles could be recognized or supported, then I want you guys to ask for support in those sections. All right, so we got a lot of yeses. I'm assuming the majority of people are done. I'll give everybody about 1 more minute to do theirs. And I see that, you know, the big areas that we talk about. The big areas that we talk about, mindset, marketing, sales, operations, right? All those big 4 areas, everybody's kind of a different struggle depending on your experience level, right? If you're a newer agent to the business, you know, Rob was talking about getting too much info. If you're a newer agent to the business, guys, it depends on where you're coming from and what you're thinking about. But your number one focus, guys, in my opinion, my recommendation, should be on marketing. Your number one focus should be on building relationships and lead generating. Because if you don't have any potential buyer or seller leads, then you don't have anyone to do this business with. You don't have a way to get in the game. You don't have a way to gain experience. The agent that identifies a buyer-seller relationship earliest is the agent that gets the most experience the fastest, right? Versus the agent who does focus on too much information and isn't sure where to start and therefore doesn't really start, tends to get started later. So that's my recommendation, guys. And if you're a new agent, I'll talk about some resources specifically for you here at the end of class tonight. So if you're assessing where you're at and you don't have any leads right now, you're not doing any marketing, you're not generating any leads, then you probably gave yourself a low rating in the marketing area. And that's where we need to go to work first, right? If you're an experienced agent and you're struggling with getting your business organized or staying updated or, you know, your tools, your systems, your structure, your time, right? Then you're probably struggling in operations. If you've had your license for quite some time and, you know, whether that be years or months or some, you know, decades, and it's just a time in your life where you're struggling, it probably stems from your mindset, probably struggling with what you're thinking about and, you know, deciding and committing and setting your intentions and putting your energy and focus in the right place, right? So regardless of where you're at, guys, I just wanted you to start to become aware of where you're at so you can start to go to work on those areas, right? If you had a low rating in marketing and you don't have any leads, get to work this week. Stop everything else. Don't even go to any classes tomorrow. Just start making some phone calls, right? Like, that's what you need to do. If you have some leads and you have a database and you're working, but you haven't set any appointments, you gave yourself a low rating in sales, but you have a database, get to work tomorrow. Like, start that right now, right? If your mindset is low and you're just like, man, Curtis, I'm struggling, I'm trying to, I want to, I'm just not getting it, I'm not figuring it out. Well, then we need to go to work on what you're thinking about. You need to get into class tomorrow. You need to get to Fast Start 101 and 102, some of the other things that we're going to talk about tonight, guys. So either way, the whole goal of this was to start to become more aware of where you're at and what you need to go to work on and to highlight what's working so you can double down on what's working, right? If you're doing a great job of marketing and sales, don't stop. Keep going. That's the lifeblood of real estate. But what can you do to get a little bit more organized operationally, right? So I'm going to give you guys this little checklist when you leave here. And what I want you guys to do is go ahead and if you're taking notes on a pen and paper, go ahead and write these 2 things on your paper down. Top 3 tools, top 3 systems. Because as we're talking tonight, if we identify a tool or a system that you need to add to your business, I want you to write it down. Now, the goal tonight is we're not going to be able to take you through step by step every tool and how to implement every system. That's going to be up to you to go quest for that information. Go find it in another class in EXP World. Go find it in Workplace from an agent that's sharing these things. Go do your own research. Go watch a YouTube video. The how-tos, guys, believe it or not, that is not the struggle in education and learning these days, the how-tos. The how-tos are everywhere. It's the what-to-dos and what to thinks and what to believes and concepts that actually are missing. So let's talk tools for a minute. Let's talk about some tools. Based on where you rated yourself in your business, could you use implementation of some better organizational tools? How many of you guys need to get more organized? Give me a yes in the chat if you need to get more organized. You know that's an area of deficiency or a struggle. Okay. I'm going to start to give you some ideas. All right. Congratulations, Lauren. That's beautiful. Lauren says getting there. All right. I'm going to start to give you some ideas. And I want you to kind of do a little mental checklist or a literal checklist on your piece of paper. And you guys can also use the chat for me as well. One of the number one tools, in fact, not one of, I call this the number one tool that you need to set up and use to be organized in this business is your database. If you don't have a database yet at all, there's a course that runs live in EXP World called Database Management Fundamentals. It's a Fast Start series course where we talk about setting up and launching your database. So you got to have a database, guys. Your database is your list of relationships. It's your list of relationships. And if you're not using it, why not? Give me an excuse or a reason in the chat so I can convince you otherwise. If you're not using it effectively, why not? Give me an excuse or a reason in the chat, and I'll try to convince you and explain it to you. And if, of course, there's not just excuses, right? There are valid reasons, so I want to talk you through those reasons, and I want to make some recommendations. Okay? So let's look at them. All right, so I don't understand KV Core. I just uploaded a newsletter. Awesome. Bad time management. It's all right, being honest. Don't know enough people locally. What is my database? Cool. So there's a couple of areas I'm going to bucket this into, right? And then we're going to keep going, but you're going to write down these notes based on what you need to do. So if you don't know what one is or how to use one, then you need to go learn more about building and leveraging a database. So one of your notes, one of your top 3 tools to learn about, if you don't know what a database is or how to set one up, then you need to go learn. And I'll give you guys a place where you can go learn. I'll tell it to you at the end of class. You guys need to go learn. If you already have one and you're just not using it, oh man, come on, shame on you. Then you got to do one of 2 things. You got to go change your mindset about it, or you got to do a better job at scheduling. And you got to use organizational tool number 2. You got to implement your calendar. If you don't have time blocked on your calendar for using, leveraging, cleaning, maintaining, updating your database on a weekly basis, and in many cases on a daily basis, depending on your goals, then you won't do it. If anybody in here has a goal of selling 2 houses a month, you need to be working in your database a minimum of 6 hours a week. More likely 9, depending on the size of your database. You want to sell more than that, you need to be in it something like 15 hours a week. Okay? So back to, some of you need to go learn more about what a database is, the difference between that and a CRM. Some of you need to go learn about KV Core, which is the CRM you get access to at EXP. Some of you need to shift your mindset. So if you need to shift your mindset, then what you're going to need to do is, and we're going to talk about how to learn a little bit later tonight, what you're going to need to go do is start reading books about prospecting from databases. Start going to listening to podcasts about databases and start getting convinced that it is the way to effectively convert leads and build a scalable business, right? So you got to like change the way you think about it if you're not using it. Otherwise, you got to get your calendar updated. I recommend, guys, just give you a recommendation on your calendar. I recommend that you're prospecting in the mornings at a minimum 2 days a week, ideally 5 days a week. But you got to decide. You've got to pick what's realistic for you. There's an agent friend of mine. I don't know if she's in here tonight or not, but if she is, shout out to Carmen. Carmen, last year in 2019, hit Icon Agent, I believe in December, and she basically prospected from her list 2 days a week. That's it. Sold 40 houses 2 days a week. She was focused on relationships. She built a database. She had time blocks on her calendar. She prospected a couple of days a week. Thank you, guys. See, this is what I love the chat for. Appreciate you, Wade. There are agents in here sharing their favorite resources, guys, to get organized. Think about prospecting, building your database. Take notes. That's what I wanted you guys to do. That's why this is an opportunity assessment type class. I want you guys to become aware. Great question, Kathleen. Kathleen asks, what does prospecting even mean? Kathleen, prospecting is proactively generating and converting leads. So prospecting it's a process. It's an act, right? It's like exercising. What does exercising mean? Exercising means doing things that get your heart rate pumping and your blood moving through your body and helps build muscle and strength and endurance, right? So prospecting is making contacts, calling people, finding leads, generating leads, searching, hunting, farming, talking to people, having conversations, all the things that would proactively generate leads for you and or help convert leads. So I think somebody said having conversations. That's one of my easiest ways to explain prospecting. If you're not talking to people, you're not moving relationships forward in this business. I was just talking to a young agent. I'm not sure if Rachel's here tonight, but I was talking to Rachel, who's 21 years old. She's a hungry, excited agent. And, one of her number one skill sets is talking to people. I said, great. That's the number one thing it takes to be successful in real estate is a will to have conversations and having as many of them as you can. And you will get better and better and better at them over time. A couple more things for organization. If you don't have a business plan, you need one. Doesn't have to be complex. Doesn't have to be crazy. You just have to know what your plan is. How many houses do you plan to sell this year? How much income do you plan to generate this year? How many new client relationships do you need to generate every quarter to be successful? If we don't have those basics, guys, then you don't have like a North Star. You know what I mean? You got to have a thing that's pointing you north. How many of you guys have what I call a scoreboard? Does anybody keep score or keep track of their success or their activities, their results? Scoreboards, trackers. Does anybody at least keep all of their real estate notes in one notebook? Do you have a real estate notebook? Do you keep track of all the conversations you're having? Right? Get organized. Anybody in here use intake forms? Love it. I'm hopefully giving you guys some things to write down, right? And then once you say, I need a business plan, then there's some resources. You can go find a way to build one. We do a business planning class every 2 weeks in the EXP world. There's ways to keep track of what you need to keep track of. I'm looking for a real estate tracker. There's all kinds of resources all across EXP. All right, so organization, tools. Now let's go to productivity tools. I've already asked how many of you have a database. How many of you are using KV Core? Give me a yes in the chat if you're using KV Core. If you want to increase productivity, guys, KV Core is like a power drill. If you're just calling people in your phone or following up with people you meet and you grabbed a business card from, or people you got to sign in at an open house, but they're not in your KV Core, you're missing the power drill, right? That's a tool. Love it. All right, cool. I also want to remind you guys, for those of you that are comfortable on the phone, I want to remind you that the phone is a super powerful tool. If you are good at talking on the phone, you should be on the phone. Do not forget, the number one thing you can be doing every day is having conversations. One of the easiest ways to have conversations is a phone call. Now, Even if you're not big on calls, not your favorite thing to do. How about text messages? How many of those are you sending every day to the people in your database? Are you using your phone? Are you taking action with it? How many videos are you creating every day with your phone? My wife has like a probably 3-year-old, 4-year-old digital camera. It was probably like $700. It's worthless compared to our phones. Probably 5 years old. But like, you have a super powerful camera sitting in your phone. Are you using it? Are you making videos? Are you capturing content? Are you using social media as productivity tools? How many of you guys in here just scroll through social media? A couple likes, maybe a heart, versus creating content, writing posts, sharing things, adding new friends, connecting, liking, commenting. Everybody who connects and likes and comments, you send them a private message. You get back to them. You create connection. That enhances your productivity. Thinking about Instagram and YouTube, guys, as tools. These are tools. Think about, so many people think about social media, again, as just a place to see information. You need to think about social media, guys, as a way to be more productive selling real estate. Did you know right now that one of the number one open rates is Facebook Messenger? It's more likely somebody opens their Facebook Messenger than text message or email. Doesn't mean text message and email don't work. I'm just telling you that there are a lot of people open their messages. So if you're not using Facebook Messenger, you're missing a big productivity tool. If you're on Instagram but you're not using direct message, you're missing a big productivity tool. If you're creating content but you don't have a YouTube channel, you're missing a big productivity tool. Let's talk about other things for efficiency. And again, remember my goal. I want to remind you guys, my goal, you're supposed to be taking notes for yourself of what you need to go to work on. Not just listening to ideas like, oh yeah, we all love social media. Like, okay, what do you need to be doing more of? What do you need to go to work on? There we go, Katie. Love it. Congrats. Sam's going to give you a link to his group and workplace here in a little bit, since Katie said she just created a YouTube channel. That's awesome. All right, last but not least, maybe you are using these tools already, but you're feeling inefficient. Does anybody use templates? Do you have text templates written? Do you have email templates written? Spend some time writing your best text message follow-ups, your best text message introductions. Spend some time drafting your best posts in your notepad on your phone. Spend some time looking at KV Core's templates and tweaking them and making them what you want. Spend some time doing that. Does anybody struggle with finding times on calendars? You're so busy with life and business that scheduling a time to go see houses or getting an appointment set is a struggle. And one of the reasons you struggle is because you're not sure when they're available and you're available and you're trying to sync up schedules. There's a productivity app called Calendly. It's up on the screen, Calendly, Calendly. I can send a link out to anybody who wants to schedule a time with me, and they could pick a time from all the open time slots on my calendar, and they just sign up and it shows up on my calendar. So if you want to coordinate with a buyer, seller, a prospect, somebody in your sphere of influence, you're coordinating a lunch or a coffee or an appointment or a tour of homes, you can send them a link to your calendar via Calendly, and they can schedule a time on your calendar. How many of you guys think of Workplace as a productivity tool? It is. It gives you instant access to staff at EXP, instant access to other agents at EXP. It gives you a way to get training at night and on weekends. It gives you a way to borrow some of the best ideas from the other agents at the brokerage. So if you're not using Workplace, you're missing a big opportunity. World is a huge productivity tool. Hopefully you guys are starting to think about it as such, right? It's your office on your computer, anywhere, anytime. You can be in the office. You never have to miss another meeting. You never have to miss a chance to go talk to staff or take a class. You can be anywhere you want and still be active. I'll give you another app. There's another app called Reach, R-E-A-C-H. It's a mobile app for your phone. I love Reach because it's like a CRM. It doesn't replace a CRM, so I'm not advocating for Reach over KV Core or anything else specifically, but I'll tell you what I like about Reach. Reach lets you take people in your phone and lump them into groups. And then it lets you send the same templated message to every person in those groups. So for example, imagine you look at your real estate database and you take out, 15 people in your sphere of influence. And you want to send them a message that sounds personalized, but it's a template. And it's like, hey, Mario, it's Curtis. Just thinking on you, man. Happy Sunday. Want to see how you and the family were doing. Do you have any plans? Or do you have any time to have coffee in the next couple of weeks? ? You can send that text to 15 people without a group chat and open 15 text messages with your closest sphere of influence. The Reach app allows you to do that and so much more. It's a great way for communicating, keeping your list segmented. It's super helpful, super easy, and it's from your phone, so it completely syncs up with like your phone book. And so Reach is one of my favorites. BombBomb. Have you guys heard of BombBomb? I love coffee, Bradford. I could have coffee every day. I do have coffee every day of the week. Just want to have it with people, right? They don't all respond. You know what response rates are. That's why I'm a big fan of, like, if you're going to communicate once, communicate many times to similar groups of people. That's kind of why I'm a big fan of BombBomb. Because, again, imagine sending one message out to everybody that is a prospective buyer in the next 6 months. Everybody that is a seller you've talked to that plans to sell sometime in 2020, right? You could send templated messages. That's an example of what you do with Reach. BombBomb, guys. BombBomb is a video app. Quite a bit more than that, but long story short, it helps you send video and allows you, database and contact features and all kinds of other stuff. Video is a huge way to communicate, guys, by the way, as a productivity tool. If you're not leveraging video for communication with buyers, sellers, clients, sphere of influence, other people, you're missing a big opportunity. Video creates massive connection. And it's more efficient. It's more effective, right? If Al and I need to have a talk and we're not together physically, a video conversation is more impactful than a phone call. A recorded video, guys? Sorry, Charlotte, did you say something?
It's really crazy that you can hear certain things, but you can't hear the voice.
Right now in the world?
So your speakers are working.
Is anybody else having similar audio problems to Charlotte?
I can hear you.
Yeah. Okay.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Hey, you're fine.
Thank you for letting me know. You might have to jump out and jump back in. I don't know what's been up on Sunday night, guys. It's been the weirdest last month or so. I've never had so many problems with World on Sunday nights. Like, every other day of the week, we're good. I just random Sunday night audio issues. Okay, I'm going to keep rolling. I got a couple more to give you. Everybody, if you would, make sure your microphones are muted, please. So a couple more things I want to give you on productivity tools. I'm going to give you an idea. It's probably one of my favorite things that I do right now to create some time and efficiency for me personally. I have a busy life, busy schedule, probably like all of you guys, right? I am a huge fan of sharing my screen on my computer and recording video and audio for explaining information. I'll give you an example. When I run a CMA, let's say, to consider an offer for a buyer, and they want to go through that CMA, right, and we're not together, I will do the CMA on my MLS. Then I'll use one of those two tools down there. One's called Loom. The other one's called Zoom. They both do similar things. I'll share my screen, and I'll record myself explaining the MLS CMA, and I'll send it to them. It'll be under 10 minutes, easy to watch. I have investor clients that I do this for all the time. I don't work as many clients anymore as I used to, but this is especially why I do this, because I don't spend a lot of time with clients, because I work full-time for EXP and help agents in my organization and help agents all across the company, and I do this all the time. In advance of appointments, before I go on a listing appointment, for example, I'll do a CMA, and I'll send it to them in advance with my screen share just to say, hey, I want to make sure before we come out there that you think we're in line with price and some of the information I want to share with you what's going on. Reviewing offers, contracts, right? Instead of spending an hour on the phone with a buyer, you can review your offer in 12 minutes on a video and send it to them and say, hey, Jay, I just sent you the video reviewing the offer details. Want you and your wife to go through that real quick, and then I'll give you a call in about a half hour to discuss. Let me know once you watch that video. Thanks. It's awesome. You can do buyer presentations. You can do listen presentations. You can do all kinds of seminars, webinars, all kinds of stuff. Video is a huge opportunity, guys, to create productivity and leverage for yourself and your business. All right, I'm going to keep going. This is where I'm going to speed up a little bit because I want to get to the last section. Real quick, learning tools. World and workplace, I can't encourage enough. I'm going to give you guys a couple more recommendations on classes, especially if you're new to the business. There's a lot of classes. Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. I want you to be well aware that it's not just people you know that are putting out free training content on these platforms, right? Some of the best agents in the industry, hundreds of agents at EXP, agents outside of EXP, they're putting out good training content, guys, on these three platforms. So if you're not following people that are offering good real estate knowledge on these three platforms, make sure you start. Somebody earlier mentioned Ricky Caruth. Ricky's awesome. I'm a big fan. His content's really good. There's agents at our brokerage. Anybody follow Jay Kinder? His stuff is amazing, right? There's agents all across the industry sharing stuff on these platforms. Make sure you're leveraging it. And then podcast, books, Audible, and Blinkist are a few other areas I recommend if learning is where you need to go. Okay, so if learning is one of the priorities, then you need to start to write down, for example, need a good real estate podcast. And this is where I'll open the floodgates real quick. I'd like everybody in here who has a favorite person they follow or a favorite podcast or book to drop it in the chat. Favorite person you follow on social or a favorite podcast or book, real estate related, mindset related, whatever it is. Follow GoGo Bethke. GoGo's amazing. Great resource, David. Do me a favor, David. Can you jump into Workplace and go grab like a link to GoGo and then drop it in the chat? But guys, look at these names. Jen Sincero is amazing. I'm a huge Jen Sincero fan. So look at these names, guys. You guys add this for the next minute or so. I'm going to get to the next portion. We're going to spend about 5 minutes talking about systems. Hopefully by this point, everybody who got here seriously with a plan to write some things down has a good list of what you need to go to work on tools-wise. Now let's talk about systems. Appreciate you guys sharing so many people. There's some good people in here. I'm going to tell you guys too, since there's a lot of stuff here, I'm going to tell you guys how to copy the chat before you go. Love it. Tell you guys how to copy the chat before you go. Okay, let's keep rolling. Okay, so systems now. Now I'm going to challenge you. If you gave yourself a low rating on mindset earlier, IG is Instagram and YT is YouTube. Thanks, Janice. IG is Instagram and YT is YouTube. Okay, so mindset. One of my favorite quotes is by a guy by the name of Bob Proctor. I'm going to put this guy's name in the chat because I'm such a big fan. Bob Proctor. Bob is he's a mindset kind of, manifestation expert. That's underselling Bob. That's not fair. Bob Proctor is just amazing. But one of my favorite quotes, and this will give you an idea of what Bob is like. One of my favorite quotes, Bob says, if you can hold it in your mind, you can hold it in your hand. And what he's saying is, if you can visualize and set your intentions and adjust your mindset clearly enough, and you be so focused on something, you can manifest it. You can make it a reality. If you want to sell 45 houses a year, if you want to hit Icon Agent, if you want to build a big rev share organization, if you want to be, so profitable, generate X income, you guys can do it. You just have to believe it. You have to talk about it. You got to talk about it daily. You got to talk about it positively. You got to change what you say out loud. You got to change what you write down on paper. You got to change what you think about every day. You got to have clear goals, clear objectives, and you've got to learn to explain and share the stories that are going to help you get there with yourself and with everyone you meet. So if you're a brand new real estate agent, for example, and you don't have a plan, you're not planning to sell any houses this year, you're just like hoping you get good at learning how to sell houses, you're not going to be able to tell anybody your plan. You're not going to be able to explain a story. You're not going to be able to build credibility, right? You're not going to be able to convince yourself of your plan. If you're not adding leads or growing your database or building your client list, right? If you're not doing any of those things, then you're not able to craft the story and the messaging that's needed to build the credibility and actually do those things. So if you rated yourself low in mindset, guys, and you need to work on some of these areas, write down what you need to work on. I need to break some old beliefs. I need to get better at positive self-talk. And then you can go find out the how and the who from all these people. All right? Thank you, David. Appreciate it. All right. Marketing and sales systems. This stuff is where I can point you in the right direction very easily. So I kind of saved it for last real quick, right? In marketing, I'm going to challenge you to identify which of these 3 big systems you need to work on, or maybe which 2 out of 3, right? I just don't want you to get too busy and too hectic. Somebody said in here earlier, as a new agent, you're not sure where to start. Start with one of these 3 areas: branding, lead generation, or lead conversion. Branding, lead generation, or lead conversion. By branding, if you're new, all I mean is communicating outbound to people and creating content. That's all I mean. If you're new to the business, you better start sending some Facebook messages and some text messages and making some phone calls and creating some content to share with people. You don't even have to create all your own content at EXP. There's stuff in our marketing center that you can go capture and start sharing with people. Or if the system you need to go work on is lead generation, all you need to decide is what sources are you going to target as your primary sources of leads and start working. If you decided open houses like a month ago, you should have been doing open houses by now. If you decided you're going to work internet leads, then you start generating internet leads. If you decided you're going to work for sale by owners or door knocking, or you're going to work with builder reps, whatever it is, start. That's it. Write it down, make a note, figure out what you need to do. Sales. If this was an area where you rated yourself low and you're like, man, I need to do better there. I've got leads in my database. I'm just not calling them enough. Pick up the phone and set some appointments tomorrow. Period. That's it. That's the only thing that moves you forward. If you've got leads and relationships and you're not moving them forward through the process, you're like, where's my next client coming from? They're coming from your next appointment. So go set some appointments this week. Running appointments. If you're setting appointments and not converting them to clients, let's get better at running appointments. Figure out who you need to watch, where you need to go, what the how-to is you're missing, and let's go win more buyer appointments. Let's go win more seller appointments. And by win, I mean convert them to clients. Last but not least, if you have clients, but you've shown a buyer 20 homes in this market and they haven't found one, let's get you better at tours. If you're going on listing appointments and you're getting listings but they're not selling, let's talk about your listing process, right? Write these down, and then let's go get the how-tos. Let's find you what you need. All right, so here's how I'm going to close for you guys that have been taking notes. Congratulations if you've gone through this exercise, guys. You got some good information, but now it's time, and you might not be able to do this right now, but I'm going to challenge you guys to do this before you go to bed or at the beginning of your morning tomorrow. Now that you got all of these notes and all these areas, everybody in here has got a different experience level and what they're working on, different focuses, right? I want you to pick your number 1 goal for March. And I want you to write it down. My number 1 goal is to close 2 sales, or add 1 new client, or go on 4 appointments, or generate 8 new buyer leads, or get 20 names in my database, or have 40 conversations. Write down your number 1 goal after everything you've looked at tonight and you've assessed. And then I want you to break that down into weekly objectives. If your number 1 goal is 10 appointments this month, then you must set 3 appointments every week, period, because 2 are going to flake. You must set 3 appointments every week, 2 out of the 12. If your number 1 goal is to add 20 names to your database, then you must add 5 every week. And then, what are you going to track daily to tell you you're done? What are you going to track daily to tell you you're on track to 12 appointments? Randy's going to have to track conversations. That's the only thing that's going to tell you you made progress towards your weekly goal. If you have to set 4 appointments a week, you're probably going to have about 20 conversations a day, maybe 15, depending on your database. All right? Okay, so now you got to go write this stuff down. If Nancy's goal is to close 3 sales in the month of March, that means she needs a closing a week. If she needs a closing a week, at this point, she should already have 4 clients, 5 clients in process, and she needs to be adding a client a week to try and get her there by the end. Okay, so real quick, guys, that's going to kind of wrap everything up. I do want to give you a couple of things before I go to this next piece. I'm going to give you guys a couple of things in the chat. Number 1, I'm going to give you the slides one more time, so you guys can have the slides. Number 2, I'm going to give you guys the opportunity assessment form that I showed you earlier, so you can download this as a PDF, and then you can print it out if you want. I know it has some colors in it, so it doesn't work best for print, but you guys can like copy it and write it on your paper, or print out and write on it. It'll look pretty if you have a color printer. So you've got the slides, and then you've got the assessment. I'm going to give you one more thing real quick while I'm here before everybody leaves, and then I'm going to kind of wrap up the class, and I'm going to direct traffic a little bit, point you guys to some good resources, because I know that this class had probably about 50% or so of everybody in the chat said they were new agents, new to the business. So I'm going to go get you guys what we call our Fast Start Series checklist, and then I'm going to talk about it real quick. Oh, how to copy the chat box. Thank you, Wade. All right, how to copy the chat box real quick, guys. Take your mouse over to the chat box and hover over it so it kind of like shows up on your screen. Then wait a sec before you do this. Let me explain it. You're going to right click, and when you right click at the top of eXp World, it's going to say transcript copied. It's a little blue box that pops up for like a second or two. Once it says transcript copied, then you open any document like Word doc or Google Doc or Evernote or Notepad, and then you paste it. And once you paste it, it'll have everything that was in the chat box. So now, take your mouse over to the chat, right click, it'll say transcript copied at the top, and then you guys can go paste it anywhere you want. So let me make sure, my recap slide. Let me make sure everybody walked away here with an increase in your awareness about the 4 pillars of your growth, a list of tools or systems that you need to go to work on, and a plan for your activities for the month of March. Give me a yes if you got that, or at least got a version of those takeaways. Cool. All right, that's what I wanted. Perfect. Glad to hear it, guys. If you need a roll, feel free to roll. Class is officially over. I will give you guys a couple more pointers here since I didn't get to do as much welcome and housekeeping at the beginning due to technical difficulties. So for my new agents,
Thanks, Curtis.
you're welcome, Sam. It was good to see you, man. I appreciate you being here. This was the check-in week. So for my new agents, new to the business, I want to encourage you guys to go check out what's called our Fast Start Series. Fast Start Series. The Fast Start Series, guys, is a series of 14 courses, and it was designed exclusively for the new agents in mind. So if you're new to the business, they're not yet, Lauren. If you're new to the business and you guys can free up some time during the week, go to that calendar I just put in the chat, and then take that Fast Start Series checklist that I loaded up above and find a way to get yourself through these Fast Start courses. Experienced agents do benefit as well, Bradford, I believe, especially, I'll show you kind of where I think they benefit. So especially if you're new to the brokerage, Fast Start 101 through 104, I think it actually goes through 105, is going to serve everybody because it talks about eXp tools and systems. 106 through 109 are your real estate basics. And then 110 through 114, we get a little bit more specific. 110 through 114, we're talking about working with buyers, working with sellers. I give you a framework for sales. We talk about, I think at the end, we talk about workplace as kind of a business tool. So I do think experienced agents could benefit from at least, just hearing some new concepts explained a certain way, really from the chat box and from kind of keeping tabs on what we're offering to our newer agent population. If you're an experienced agent, though, I also want to let you know there's a lot on the calendar for you guys. You just kind of have to sort through it. There's farming for dollars on Mondays. There's listen presentation training, marketing center training, social media masterminds, iConversations, which is our best of the best agents talking and sharing, right? So, yeah, Lauren, unfortunately, I apologize that we're just not there yet with the recording stuff. It's coming. It's coming. Probably another, I don't know how long, a month and a half out maybe, before we'll get them recorded. But one thing that I'll try to do, no promises, but keep an eye on this Real Estate 101, the Real Estate 101 workplace group, Lauren. Let me give Lauren a resource here real quick. I'm going to give Lauren a resource, and everybody else can grab this. It's probably the difficulty right-clicking, Ivan. I have like a magic mouse, so I can right-click easier. It gets a little harder with the mouse pad, but I think you can. Maybe Google real quick, easiest way to right-click on a mouse, and then you can do it. All right, and then I paste to my notepad. So let me give, I promised Lauren a little resource here real quick. Lauren, or let me just ask you real quick. Lauren, are you a member of the Real Estate 101 workplace group? She is. Okay, cool. So here's what I'll work towards, Lauren. And every time I see you in Real Estate 101, please be a reminder for me. I'm going to work towards getting the Fast Start courses live streamed into Real Estate 101 as like live streams. Then you can go back in that group and watch them. So that'll be my hack for getting the Fast Start courses into on-demand style somewhere. So if you'll remind me of that, I can't promise I'll have it implemented like this week, but I'll work on it, and we'll see if we can do that. Cool. All right. Let's see what else we got, guys. I think that's pretty much all I've got. I've got 110 folks in here real quick. I would appreciate a favor because I was rushing to get finished up due to the 8 minutes in the beginning. If you guys would be willing to provide some feedback about tonight's class, I would sure appreciate it. We have a survey form that I'm going to pop up on your screen real quick. And let me tell you why we use this. So one of EXP's primary initiatives is understanding something that they call NPS. NPS stands for Net Promoter Score. And what that means is EXP is looking to find out how we're serving you, the agents. Are we doing a good job? Are you appreciating it? Is it helpful? All that sort of stuff. So I'm going to give you guys a survey. I'd like you to answer honestly and just kind of tell me what you thought about this class. And I want you to know that we look through these, we share them with leadership, we talk about them as the university staff, and we do read the comments to try and figure out how to improve and make things better. So if you guys would, fill this out for me real quick. The name of this class tonight was Real Estate 101. I was your instructor, Curtis, Kirtus, last name Dixon, Dixon. And then just fill it in. I'll give you guys a couple of minutes, and really that's all I got to. So if you guys are ready to wrap up and get out of here, I really appreciate you filling in the survey before you leave. And then you guys are all set. So have a great week. After I close the survey, I'll stick around for just a few more minutes in case anybody has any last questions that we didn't get to cover. My pleasure. The class started at 8 o'clock Central Time. And I'm loading a copy of the slides for you, Terry, in the chat. So you can click on the PDF and click download and take them with you.
Hey Curtis, it's Rob. How are you doing?
Hey Rob, doing great, man. How are you doing?
Hey, good. You mentioned a group text chat that was a separate application. Did you realize you can do that within KV Core as well?
Definitely. Yeah, I'm a big fan of the bulk texting feature that KV Core has. Absolutely.
So how would that be different to your other application?
It's only really different, Rob, in what I would call workflow. It's kind of like where your preference is to do things. So, for example, consider the difference between making a phone call, holding your phone up to your ear, and making a phone call popping in your AirPods. It's just a little different experience. Same call. I use the Reach app. I'll tell you how I use Reach specifically. So there's a lot of things, a lot of relationships that I manage that aren't my real estate relationships. Now, I encourage agents to leverage KV Core and all its resources. But for example, I coach basketball teams, and I have a revenue share organization of agents at EXP, and I've got a few other kinds of relationships that I leverage my reach out for. I find it a little bit easier for me and speedier for like sorting and messaging and stuff like that. So it's really just a workflow experience preference. Does the same thing, but
Gotcha, because they respond to your cell phone, not the other way.
KV Core. Correct. Yep. I teach KV Core, but I just also share what I use from a productivity standpoint, you know?
No, that's all
Appreciate
good.
Good question. All right, guys, I'm going to go ahead and close this survey and open it up for any more questions, anything else that I can help with potentially. I'd be glad to do it. Tom, I see you got a question here. Let me close the survey. Let me look at it real fast. All right, so Tom asks, can we change the order our work groups appear in the side so the ones that you want at the top appear there? So I think if you look at it, you can, I don't know if you guys can still see my screen. Hold on. Can you guys see my screen? Yeah, so you guys can see my screen. So you click right here in shortcuts. There's a little button that says edit. You click edit, and then you can drag them around. And it looks like it's only letting me show maybe the top 5, or maybe I only have 5 pinned to shortcut. So if I go over here and I go add to shortcuts, and it pops it up there, and then I can go edit and move them all around. So yep, easy, yes. Cool. What was the workplace group for where you'll post a fast start on demand stuff again? I will post it in this Real Estate 101 workplace group, and I will put a link to that in the chat here real quick. And if you click on that link, if you're not a member, Dana, it will take you to that Real Estate 101 workplace group. Katie, I'm not exactly sure the answer to your question, but I'll give you a better place to ask it, unless anybody knows the answer to Katie's question. She said, I thought with KV Core you get an assigned phone number, but everyone can access it unless you buy a phone number. I'm not too sure how the KV Core numbers work exactly, Katie. I don't really personally utilize that part of the system. Let me give you a really good place to ask that question, for example. So I'm going to give you a link to a workplace group. It's called CRM for Dum Dums. The administrator is a friend of mine, Sylvia Dana. She's a really helpful agent, and she shares tons of KV Core stuff. So if you click on that link, if you were to just go to this workplace group, you guys can see my screen a little bit. The first few things she has is she has pinned posts called KV Core Setup Templates, video series, all of these cool things. So I highly recommend starting there and asking that question there. And then it looks like someone kind of knew her answer. Pushing you from there. So great. Okay. You can buy your own smart number on KV Core, but not required. Yep. So, cool. Thanks, guys. Rob, exporting your phone book is a little bit tricky, but I'm just going to give you that's the thread on where you start. Well, maybe it may not be tricky on Android. It's tricky on iPhone. You just got to do some. So you're going to start Googling and YouTubing how to export phone book from my cell phone. And then once you can export, then you can import. So those are the two things you kind of need to work through and learn. We talk about those as concepts in the Database Management Fundamentals Fast Start series courses. But in order to get more specific, you'd have to actually go to KV Core's help portal through the KV Core app. So Victor, that's a great question. I will tell you, as you know, nationally, our training stuff doesn't really include CMA stuff, and I'll tell you why. So let me give you your answer. You're going to want to go to your state resources or your mentor, or the best place, in my opinion, is to actually take classes from your board in MLS. So that all said, there's a lot of resources online. If you were to Google CMA in your state or your area, you might find some YouTube videos and stuff like that. But, you know, analyzing markets through your MLS, for example, is going to vary depending on your MLS. So that's why we can't do national specific CMA training per se. But I think we'll get to a kind of open-ended framework at some point that's not so MLS or state specific. But you can use tools as well. So Janice mentioned a tool, which is a great tool. There are a few ways to do CMAs. So let me kind of give you some examples. So number one, you can run the market analysis yourself through your MLS. That's my number one recommendation for learning how to analyze a market, is actually running the research, by your neighborhoods, by your geographies, by your search radiuses, and comparing all the homes, right? So that's one way. That's my primary recommendation for any and all agents. Then what you do is you use a tool like RPR that you get access to by being a member of your local board, because you're then a member of the National Association of Realtors. And RPR will run automated CMAs for you. And then you compare and contrast. You look at the RPR CMA and you look at your analysis, and you use your analysis to see what RPR is turning out to you. And then if you're not quite sure how to run good CMAs, you use the RPR report to go make sure you saw that comparable. Make sure you found your CMA, or make sure you did your CMA, roughly like RPR did. So there's other tools as well. But I would I would also go talk to your state broker team, see if they have any trainings related to that stuff. And then again, I always recommend board and MLS training. Cool. Thanks, Sam. RPR is a great link. All right, guys. Any other questions? I know it's about 15 after. I'm good to go for the night. I'll let y'all get out of here. Have a great week. Make sure you work on that March plan. Go sell some real estate together, guys. And make Real Estate 101 a part of your weekly ritual, guys, if you're free. Series will start over in March. Thanks, everybody. Good night, Rob. Good night, Lisa. Good night, Sam. Thanks for everything. Bye, Tom. Bye, David.
This is who you were hearing the whole entire time. Sorry. She's sleeping.